Good evening. Good evening, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our annual dinner. And I must say that it's a great pleasure to speak to you at our event for the first time and to see the level of support for AIFA and the work we do from the great and the good. If I may briefly run through the usual procedures, for your safety and comfort, of course, there are no fire drills planned, so if an alarm sounds, please do keep calm, but please don't carry on. Staff will, of course, show you to the exits. You may find life jackets under your seats, equipped with a light and a whistle. Please don't use them during speeches. Could I ask you to switch off your mobile devices or put them to silent, and to nominate an enforcer on your table, and to decide upon a suitable charitable penalty for transgressions. And on the subject of charity, we are supporting two very worthy causes this evening, the NSPCC and the Spafford Children's Centre. I do hope that you'll use the envelopes on your table to give generously towards the work that they do. As far as the order of play is concerned, our sponsor and I will keep our comments mercifully brief to ensure that your appointment with your dinner is not delayed too much. And afterwards we have the honour of hearing from our guest speaker, the Shadow Financial Secretary to the Treasury, Chris Leslie, followed by a few further comments from myself, I'm afraid, and our charity prize draw. Supported again with our sincere thanks to NMG. There are some really exciting prizes, including the mystery prize, which is either a Caribbean holiday or a luxury motor car or tea for two at our European headquarters in Austin Friars. I'm sure you can't guess which. So here we are in new and sumptuous surroundings, and with still the same encouraging level of support in tough economic times. I would particularly like to thank BlackRock for their sponsorship of this evening's event. This is the first time that we've had a fund manager sponsoring our annual dinner, and it does give an indication of the changing dynamics in our market and their outlook on the advisory community. And of course, without that support, AIFA would not be able to continue to do its work. We are very much an association of the community, by the community, and for the community. So what has been the labour of the last year for us? Well, I'll talk again later about matters regulatory, but it has, of course, been a very full agenda. Our work on RDR at a time of division and turmoil in our community led us to a hard-won consensus which we were pleased to see reflected to a significant degree in the conclusions that were reached by the Treasury Select Committee. We've seen a delay announced on capital adequacy requirements after persistent lobbying by AIFA and many others. The vexed issue of key data was also again at centre stage, and AIFA responded not simply with angst, but by carefully picking apart the basis for the levy calculations that the regulator conceded, so the regulator conceded an opportunity for firms to resubmit their tariff data. Our work on the new regulatory architecture has been based on a very clear manifesto for regulation, which we developed last year. And we appeared recently before the Joint Select Committee on the Financial Services Bill to make the case against spiralling cost for small firms and to press for a liability long stop. So we have engaged constructively and in regulatory developments here in the UK and, of course, in Europe as well, in respect of emerging European directive consultations. And we've probed assertively on matters of detail that have been of great importance to our members. But we've also stood up for our members publicly when it's been necessary for us to do so. It's a measure of our success in opposing the challenge from consumer focus to Renewal and Trail Commission, both behind the scenes and in the national press, that most IFAs are still unaware that the threat existed. And of course, whilst we support the aims of the Money Advice Service, it was necessary for AIFA to be very vocal about the advertising campaign, which described it as a fair and independent advice service. Beyond our core policy work, AIFA has been very active in its efforts to forge a better future for our members with our services and our thought leadership activity. Our Fast Forward Business Transition Academy, for example, has provided an invaluable resource to member firms who are grasping the nettle on transforming their businesses to thrive following the RDR. Our diploma in investment planning has proved to be very popular as well in helping experienced advisors to get to a level 4 qualification with an exam based on case studies. And our work on platform due diligence, and more recently the latest study on financial planning through retirement, have been very well publicised for their value. This work is delivered for our membership by a small and very dedicated team, and the benefits of our political activity are not just felt by our members, but by the whole community as well, whether they are members or not. I'd like to extend, therefore, my heartfelt thanks to my executive team, Robert Sinclair and Sophie Fiore, for their unstinting support, and indeed for all of the AIFA staff who've been with us this year. And that effort will continue to be needed in the coming year, as the RDR deadline is no longer on the horizon, but in full view, with so much to do and so much still unclear to us. And in that year, we'll see the passage of a bill which will set the ground rules for the future of regulation in this country, whilst regulatory bodies in London, Frankfurt and Paris on the European stage grow and prepare to exercise the full extent of the authority that they have been given. But AIFA, our association, has also been in transition, continues to be in transition. And we have recognised that as the environment changes around us, that we must adapt to it and we must change too. A significant proportion of our effort has gone into establishing the future for a small organisation which has punched well above its weight in the past. A crucial element of that transition was announced this summer. After careful consideration and very courageous debate amongst our membership and in our council, we decided that we will be altering our membership criteria so that we can represent not just IFAs, but those restricted advisors who are not tied to a single provider. Now, that wasn't an easy decision at all, but it was the right one. We do recognise that policymakers want to engage with a single voice for a broad community of interest. We do understand that increasingly firms are looking to the future with thoughts about operating more than one business model. And we do also understand that in the increasing European context, increasingly important European context, the concept of independence is different to the parameters that are set in the UK. Indeed, we might see in the years to come that our decision has predicted broadly where independence will emerge on the European stage. But in all humility, we must also accept that there's much that we have not been able to do, not much that we haven't been able to achieve, in what can be often an uneven debate between ourselves and various regulatory entities. Our members face daily threats to their businesses as a result of economic and regulatory conditions. So working for our members doesn't mean that we've been able to win on all issues. And we would, of course, like to be able to achieve much more for them in the future. An association responding to a rapidly changing market aspires and must aspire to a better future, and for a better future for our members as well, and to the customers that they serve. And we should never forget that whilst we do represent our members, it is about the end customer that we are all dedicated. So our message to the community is that this year it is time for us to change. The message is not only, though, for our members, but all who support us so generously as associates and who are here tonight. And that message is that we have a modern vision, and we look forward to our continuing partnership. So, in closing, I would like to thank all who support our association and our work to deliver a regulatory environment that is as favourable as possible to the interests of advisory businesses. There are many challenges ahead of us, but those outcomes that we seek will only be achieved if this community sticks together and it works together. Thank you very much.